Well, does everyone here know John? No. Okay. John, do you want to start by
Sure.
introducing
So
yourself?
yes, I'll give a little bit of my background and then I'll do a little bit of the itinerary for the trip, if that works, because it kind of goes together. But I've been in the bead world since I was about 12 years old. I have imported from South America, Europe, Asia, Africa, um, Bulgarian porcelain, Czech glass, silver from Thailand, Bali, Peruvian beads, beads from Mexico, trade beads from Africa. Um, I had a wholesale distributorship until 2022, but at the height of it, in 2008 through about 2012, we were selling to about 4,900 different bead and craft stores throughout the US. So I had a staff of 14 people, and we're predominantly wholesale. But I started leading um, tours back in 2008 um, to the Czech Republic. I've done trips to the Czech Republic, Italy, and then also Hong Kong and China. But Czech Republic is really my sweet spot. It's my love. I love the glass industry over there. My first trip over there was 1998. So again, about 7, 8 years after communism had fell, and the industry was basically leaving the communist environment and coming to the um, more economic, free trade, sort of small business where people who had been working for the big communist industries were all starting off on their own, with small glass manufacturing. So it was just a really, really exciting time to be going over there. And I still work with some of the same people for almost 30 years now. Um, but the first trip I led was 2008 was a group of 16 or 18 bead store owners who had basically, constantly asked me if they could go with me on one of the buying trips. And I thought, let's go ahead and do this, see how it goes. And, that was trip number one. And then trip number two was 2009. And I've led anywhere from 1 to 4 trips a year ever since then. In about 2018, it kind of switched from people who were really focused on their bead store or their bead retailer business to getting different teachers to go and actually have more of an educational component and, you know, open it up to people who, um, like this, art form, who like to be creative and enable them to see something that, if they went over there on their own, they wouldn't necessarily be able to find all these places nor have access to them. A lot of these places, since I've dealt with them for so long, let us come in. They show us the full production. We really get to understand the process. We'll get to discuss with them some beads that will be put into production. And then we get all access to all of their inventory, their current stock, the current production, closeout items. So there's at least 4 or 5 really good buying opportunities for each of the guests on the tour. Everything from vintage stuff to lamp work to fire polish, Matubo, which is the super duos, the 2 hole beads. Um, we will see seed bead production, and then the glass pearl factories, the Czech glass pearls, still in my mind are, they're up there with the Swarovski glass pearls, and the process, the hand production, the hand dipping, just to see that you'll gain a completely new appreciation for the Czech glass beads that you've been using, the whole time you've been creating here in the US.
That is so cool. Um, so I don't know all of you, so let me also tell you a little bit about me. So I'm Rebecca Combs, and John invited me to be a teacher, like he said. That's a newer component of the trip is having a beading class. So I am best known for Bead Kumihimo. I've written 3 books on the subject. I have taught across the country. I've also taught internationally. And I'm really excited to be teaching 2 projects on the trip. And I know one question that we've had is, do you need to have a lot of Kumihimo experience to do this? And you don't. One, Kumihimo is generally very beginner friendly. One of the neatest things about it is that it looks complicated, but is actually really simple. And both of the projects we'll be doing on the trip are beginner friendly. Let me switch cameras. So we have 2 projects. This is Bohemian Baubles. And for this one, it's stringing in the front. So we're going to do a little bit of wire wrapping to get these beads on head pins, and then we're going to string this up on soft flex. And then we braid the 2 sides. And for this one, I'm actually going to have an optional Zoom class in the summer before we go. So if you do this middle stringing section as homework before you leave on the trip, then you don't need to bring any pliers with you, right? Because I thought perhaps you would want to lighten your suitcase a little bit, and then you'll just use your Kumihimo tools here for the side. And Kumihimo is done on a Kumihimo disc like this. So you're going to have a foam disc and some weighted bobbins here. This is a project I have going for a class that I'm teaching. And then the other project is the spiral staircase. This is a fun little bracelet using the lentil beads, which is a great Czech shape. And for this one, to get this really interesting spiral pattern, you don't have to do anything special in the braid. This is all in how you string it. So you string the beads in a specific order, and then when you braid them, the spiral will just automatically form, which is very cool. And the nice thing about Kumihimo is once you get it on the disc, it's the sort of thing that you can take with you. It's very portable. So although we're probably not going to finish the entirety of your necklace because it's just a 3-hour class, it'll be, totally contained here on the disc. And it's something that if you felt like it in the evenings, you could braid a little bit. You could braid on a bus. You can braid on a plane. It's great for travel. So those are the projects that we're going to do on the class. Oh, and let me admit, Diana just popped in. So yes, that's Kumihimo, and that's just a little bit um, about me. I'm with Design and Adorn is my company. We started as a brick and mortar bead store in 2008, and then in 2020 we transitioned to being an online business, and we specialize in Kumihimo kits. That's the main thing that we do, and I'm excited to share Kumihimo with all of you. You come on this trip. It's going to be a great time. So John, you want to tell us a little bit more about this trip specifically?
Yeah, so the first day in Prague, we start at about 2 in the afternoon. We do a quick little walking tour to sort of gain our bearings as to where the ATMs are, where the money changer are in relation to the hotel, which way is Old Town, which way is Wenceslas Square, and then typically in between 3 and 4 o'clock, our guide Linda will pick us up at the hotel. We'll do the Jewish quarter, and then end up at a boat dinner cruise, um, which is typically about 2 hours long. It's up and down the Vltava River, and we will go through one of the locks. So we typically try to set it so that as we're going down the river, it's still daylight, and then as we're coming back up the river, the sun has already set. So you get to see Prague from the boat both during daylight and with all the buildings lit up. The pictures from the boat when the buildings are lit up is absolutely amazing. It's a very picturesque town, and they've done a really nice job with lighting up the architecture of these, 100, 6, 7, 800-year-old buildings. Um, and then the next day, we will leave the hotel just after breakfast. We will take a tram up to the top of the castle. So you'll get to experience the trams that have been basically the mode of transportation for the residents of Prague since the 1800s. And we go up to the very top of the castle, above the castle. We'll tour the castle. We'll have lunch in one of the traditional Czech restaurants near the castle, tour the castle gardens, the vineyards, walking down through the gardens to the river. Uh, we'll see some of the different art and craft stores. There is actually a lot of enamel made at the base of the Charles Bridge, so you'll actually get to see the traditional Czech enameling. Um, and then we walk over the bridge, see the astronomical clock, and back to the
Mhm.
hotel. That typically is about 6 hours, but it is broken up quite a bit. So it's not 6 hours of walking, it's 45 minutes of walking, then a break, and then an hour. We'll get the hot wine in the vineyards. Um, and that gets us back to the hotel in between 3 and 4. That night, there's nothing planned. So usually what ends up happening is the group breaks up into a few different groups. Some people want to go to a very traditional Czech dinner. Some people want to go to something a little more modern and European. Other people want to go listen to music. There's quite a few classical musical venues within walking distance of the hotel. This past October, the group went to Vivaldi and listened to the Four Seasons. So that was quite nice. And then the next morning, we're picked up at the hotel and we will leave at about 10 a.m. and we head to the Czech countryside and we'll go to one of the castles or chateaus um, on the way to Jablonec, which is where we'll be staying the next 4 nights. And some nights when we get there, we have a trunk show. Other times we'll stop at a glass manufacturer on the way. It just sort of depends on what availability the different bead companies give us.
Name of that town?
Jablonec nad Nisou is the town.
Can you spell that?
And there at that in that town, we stay at a hotel called Nabastia. It's right at the center of the town, right across the street from one of the big old churches. It's about 2 blocks from the town offices where the mayor and the town administration is. So we're basically in the center of the town, walking distance to everything. And then the next 4 days, basically, we'll see the glass pearl production, lamp working, seed bead manufacturing, Matubo, Ruthkovsky, possibly G&B, um, the glass pearls. There's 2 to 3 antique stores, and then um, sometimes, depending on the weather, we'll head over to Liberec, and there's a mountain there called Gisted, which has a little sort of gondola that takes us to the top. Um, that we typically only do if it's 60 degrees or warmer and there's no rain. So there's a lot of stuff that we'll sort of mix in. We'll go to a garnet production. Um, it's the office where the garnet mines then do they have all their jewelry and the cut stones. That's in a town called Turnoff, which that town also has Moldavite. So for those of you that are interested in the Moldavite jewelry, that town is known for its Czech minerals. So we'll go to the um, garnet factory store there, and then there's other little shops right around there. And then interspersed in all that is different little restaurants. We do go to 4 different restaurants with the tour bus. And then dinner is typically either at the hotel's restaurant or people will break off into little groups and go to like Pizzeria Franco or Radnice, which are 3 to 4 blocks walking from our actual hotel. Um, and then one of the lunches will be up at the Petrin Lookout Tower, which basically you can see the whole town of Yablonets and the surrounding countryside. And that's one of those absolutely breathtaking views because it's very alpinesque there. When you see the European pictures of like Switzerland or Germany or just the countryside that you sort of see in the movies with all the pine trees and the
Mhm.
greenery and the little towns sort of interspersed. That's sort of the view we'll see from up there. So it's definitely it's a very full trip. But everybody, if you look back at the reviews I've gotten over the years, I'd say 99% of them have been 5 stars. So I do, and I have had quite a few people go a second time on these trips.
Oh, great. That sounds so much fun. I mean, you already sold me on it, but now I was like, wow, I can't wait. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, I mean the brochure doesn't do it justification, unfortunately, and the website with the limit on words, it's tough.
Yeah, wow. Um, should we open it up to questions? I guess if you have a question, you can unmute yourself, maybe just like say your name first so I know who to spotlight and then go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, John. It's Anne. Um, over here.
And there
Hey,
you are.
there you
Thank you.
go.
Am I unmuted?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Um, you say lamp work. Is it check glass or actual lamp work beads? Because I make lamp work.
So it is finished lampwork beads that they have used the Czech lampwork rods for the actual making of the beads. So the little factory has basically 4 workstations and they have four people in there making the beads, and then they have sort of a little cash and carry. Um, it's probably about 300 square feet where they have like 3 or 4 display cases and all their lampwork beads for sale. They also make finished jewelry. But if you're looking for glass rods, there are a couple of the gift shops we go to that do actually carry the Czech glass rods, which are about, I'd say, 1/4 of an inch, maybe a little smaller in diameter.
Mhm. Not really. I'm more interested in the finished check beads.
Yep, so that place would have all of the handmade lampwork beads.
Okay. Um, so is that the only place that see the check glass?
So we will see the pressed, the table cut, and the
Pressed,
fire
yeah.
polish. Those are 3 to 4 other factories, along with the
Okay.
Czech glass pearls. So you'll see all of the table cut, you'll see the fire polish, the pressed, the bead pressing, and then the glass pearls. Those are basically an alabaster white bead that they are then dipping in the pearl lacquer about 7 times. So you'll get to see that whole process. And then this last trip, they actually let us each make one of our own glass pearls.
Mm-hmm.
So I made a red one.
Sounds good. And like you said before, there'll be buying opportunities.
Yep, all of the factories let us basically go through all of their inventory, their current stock, and they're very happy to let you take stuff home.
Okay.
And for those of you that feel like your suitcase and the 50-pound max the airlines sort of give us, we can arrange shipping FedEx or UPS so that it comes right to your door. And there's numerous places that will help us with that. And our guides, if you get to the end and realize my suitcase is overweight, our guides for that part of the trip, I've worked with them um, since 2002. It's actually a family-run business. I started working with the grandmother and then the daughter, and now the son who's or the grandson who's probably 32 or 34. Um, they had arranged until 2022 all of my shipping and logistics for me. So they do a very nice job and can get the stuff um, you know, back for you safely.
And the new tariff situation is that,
So it's 15% right now with stuff from the Czech Republic.
uh-huh.
So even if you're paying the 15% duty, you're still saving 40 to 50% of what you'd be paying Helby or John Bead or Nirvana beads or anyone in the US for the same things.
So
So
40 to 50 off of wholesale or off of retail?
off of wholesale. Because you're basically getting
You'd
the,
be the
the
first.
factory
Yeah,
pricing.
you'd be the first
Yep.
rung of the ladder.
Yep.
Okay, I haven't like I said, this is pretty spontaneous for me, so I
Yep.
haven't completely decided yet, but I am getting excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't been over in Europe in a long time.
Yeah. No, and the factories have small quantities, large quantities. I mean, basically, one of the things with these tours is they want everybody who's come on the tour basically to be an ambassador for them back in the US as to why are Czech glass beads special? Why are these worth a little bit more money
Right.
than what you get from China? Why is the quality, 10 times better than what's coming out of China? So for them, it's, this is their livelihood, this is their passion, this is what they love doing. And for them to get to share that with us, I mean, they just, I mean, some of the factories end up making us like sweet rolls and chicken schnitzel, and they'll have like hot wine and cold Czech beer for us to drink and Prosecco and so they're very excited that we're there to see everything.
Oh, so John, I wanted to follow up with the tariffs. We were talking the other day. You mentioned there's also you get a certain amount as an exemption if you bring it through in your
Yeah,
suitcase, right?
so anything coming back to the US, the first $800 is tax free if it's on your personal luggage. The next 1,000 is just a 10% tax. I've carried two to 3,000, $4,000, and I've only actually had to pay that 10% one time in all the years I've been traveling. Most of the time, if it's on the customs form, customs is understaffed. And if you've declared it, they just wave you on through. They don't want to deal with the paperwork or collecting. I mean, they're really there looking for drugs and counterfeit money and all that other stuff so that, you know, the citizen that's coming back that has over the duty-free exemption of $800, they've only charged me that 10% one time. And I mean, I'm out of the country 8 to 10 times a year. So, um, I've not really ever had a bad experience with customs in the US. And a lot of times they look at beads and they look at it, even if you get the agriculture inspection and they look at the stuff and they're like, what on earth are you going to do with all this stuff? And they just kind of roll their eyes and laugh. So, um, I don't bring any food items other than a bottle of wine or a bottle of liqueur because the chances of them going through for cheese or an apple or whatever, then you're with Fish and Wildlife, and that's a whole nother story. So I just always
Mhm.
say, don't bring any food stuff unless it's packaged.
Okay. Only beads.
Yeah, only beads or a bottle of Czech Moravian wine. They're not going to do anything about that because it's packaged and sealed. But if you have nuts or berries or cheese, something like that where it's then you run the risk of the agricultural inspection, and that's a headache.
Great. Thank you. Who else has a question?
Robin,
Robin?
I have
Okay.
a question. One of these might be silly, but I've never traveled outside. So, when we are bringing our tools, how is it all going to be in our luggage then, so that none of it is taken away?
So I have traveled with needle nose pliers, round nose pliers, flat round pliers in my carry-on and not had any problems. Other times TSA has taken them away. I have had scissors, small scissors in my carry-on and been just fine, and other times they've taken them away. My recommendation, unless you actually think you're going to do some beading on the plane, just put them in your checked baggage.
Okay.
Um, just less chance of being stopped, less chance of issues.
Okay. And I am very serious about coming.
Oh,
I
good.
thought this would be a very good experience. One, to be able to see the country where these beads and baubles are actually made. And not only that, but my grandparents were born there. So to go back to a place where they've been born, I thought that was just wonderful.
Yeah.
And combine it at the same time.
Yep. Yeah. My grandpa actually came from Prague when he was 6 years old, and they immigrated to Canada first, stayed in Canada for 3 years, and then immigrated from Canada to Chicago. So
Okay.
I actually probably 99 or 2000 found the address of where he actually lived in Prague and went back and sort of traced those steps, which was really, really, I mean, it was really, really magical for me.
I'm from the northern part of Chicago in one of the suburbs. So
Okay.
yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, and one other question. Then how do we put that $250 deposit down?
So on the We Travel website, there is you can sign up either for the single room or the double room. The double room is a shared bedroom, and then you can use your credit card or your checking account. And they do the processor is Stripe. Um, so Stripe would process based on how you basically decide you want to pay. If
Mhm.
it's a credit card, there's a transaction fee, and if it's a checking account ACH, there's no transaction fee.
And was that in the brochure that I could sign up? Because I thought I looked in the brochure and I didn't see where to
Let me
sign up.
share my screen and I can show you guys where that is. So let's see how slick I can be with the Zoom. Okay. So so this is the We Travel page,
Mm-hmm.
and let me get my Zoom stuff out of here. So over here, you would just click
Mm-hmm.
on book now,
Okay.
and then from here you would just say, okay, I want two people at double occupancy. If you're using the discount code that I have for my students,
Yes.
and you are all
Yes.
my students if you're coming along on the trip. So that's you would type right here. Oops, let me click on it. 100 off, and then RC for Rebecca
Mhm.
Combs, right? And you would just pop that on.
Lowercase?
Yep.
Okay.
And I'll put it on the screen too.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you've got your payment options. So I put two people in the cart here, so it would be $500. Or
Okay.
we could change this and go to, as one person, single occupancy. Just, however you want to do that.
When does it have to be paid in full?
I believe the next payment is in March and then in May. If there are issues with making two payments, email me and I can break it up into three payments for you. Um, they give me, I think, three or four different options, but I basically have to choose one option for the initial booking. But once you've booked, I can change it, and we can go to, I believe it would be March, May, July for the three payments. If that is an issue, yes, just email me or call me, and I can adjust that for you.
One other question. If we sign up for the double occupancy, do you happen to set up the other person to come in?
Yes,
Because
yeah. So
I don't know anybody.
I would basically, and me and Rebecca would both know that you're looking for a roommate, and then as we get other people interested in having a shared room, we would pair two people, obviously another
Okay.
female with you.
Okay. Sounds good.
And I would say typically on a trip, there is in between 2 and 3 rooms that the individuals did not know each other before the trip, and we've paired them. And it's always worked out. Bead people seem to be fairly easygoing and friendly, so
Mm-hmm.
we've had good luck with that.
Good.
Yeah, beat people are the best people.
Yeah.
Right.
Hi, John. This
Fantastic.
is
Thanks.
this is Peggy. I've been to Prague a couple times. Can you tell me the hotel we'd be staying at in Prague?
Yeah, so in Prague, we stay at the Old Town Ibis the first 2 nights. It's right in the very center of the Old Town, equal walking distance to Wenceslas Square and the astronomical clock. So it's a great location. The next 4 nights we're in Jablonec at Nabashta. And then the final night in Prague, we stay at the Courtyard by Marriott Prague Airport. And that's just so those of us that decide to get a 6 a.m. flight can walk across the street and go through security and get on their plane nice and early. And others that book something at 11 or 1 can have a nice breakfast. And the Courtyard is a very comfortable hotel by the Prague airport.
Okay. And then I'd be coming with a friend and we'd want to sort of sign up individually. Do we just put a note on it saying
Yep. Yeah,
we want to
there's a little
share the
section
room,
for
but we're going to pay
notes.
separately?
Yep. Yeah,
Okay.
just yeah, and I usually when one person books and they say they have another person that's their roommate, I'll reach out to you right away and just put notes in the system. So yeah, if you do, I'll reach out to you very quickly just to make sure that there's no issues.
Okay.
Great.
And then
And
Oh,
there
and I
are
know
four
my other,
upgrades. Actually there's only 3 upgrades of the room in Yablonets. Um, the pension or the little hotel in Jablonec is basically 3 floors. You've got the ground level, which is the restaurants, the bar, and the breakfast room. And then the first level, they call it floor 1, but in all reality, it's basically the second floor if we're looking at it on an American way. That's all the regular rooms. And then the third floor has 4 suites and an apartment. So the suites have sitting areas, desks, um, a little bit better of a view of the mountains. So there are 3 upgrades left if you do want one of the upgraded rooms for the Yablonets part of the trip. That there is that option. And then we are going to be making some custom beads. Um, so at 2 of the factories, we'll basically be coming up with some custom combinations or different colors or something that they'll put into production for us. So those arrive in between 2 and 3 months after the trip. But you can partake in that. And, it's something that, is basically made specifically for the guests on this trip that you won't see elsewhere in the States.
and
Oh,
then I want to make sure I understand we fly on the 10th. And then you were saying like the trip kind of starts at 2 o'clock on the 11th. So
Yep.
what if there's delays or something in the flights and
Yep. So most of the flights into Prague on the 11th arrive in between about 9:15 and about 12:55. Um, and it's basically once you're in the Prague airport, you can basically be to the hotel within 45 minutes to an hour. Most people will clear customs in their connecting area, like if you're flying through Frankfurt or Charles de Gaulle in Paris, you'll actually clear customs when you basically your first stop in the EU. So when you get to Prague, basically all you have to do is collect your suitcase and leave.
Mhm. Okay. So I know the people say when you fly to Europe, you should stay awake that first day. But frankly, I've never been able to do that. I
So
always need a
that's one
couple
of the
hour nap in the
reasons.
afternoon.
Yes. So We do the little meet and greet around 2, and then our walking tour of the Jewish Quarter starts in between 3 and 4, and then we go to the boat ride. So typically, once we're done with the boat ride, we're back to the hotel in between 8:30 and 9:30 at night. So basically, that sort of a little trick I learned a long time ago, that basically keeps everybody awake the first day.
Okay.
And when we get back to the hotel, 8:30 to 9:30, most people crash and then they're at breakfast in between 6 and 7 the next morning.
Okay.
And I'm not a morning person, and I'm usually at breakfast that morning in between 6 and 7.
Hmm. All
So,
right. Thanks.
yeah.
All right,
Linda
let me.
Hanson here.
Hey, Linda.
Hi, I have a couple questions. What is the climate like there at that time of year?
So it varies. We've had it as low as the high 40s, to as high as the low 70s. Um, my sort of the sweet spot for walking around Prague is high 50s, low 60s. Um, that makes it very, just a very reasonable climate. Once we leave Prague, the weather will be about 2 to 3 degrees colder. But from that point on, we're not really walking anywhere. The bus will basically pick us up and drop us off at the factories. If we're in the town, we're walking 2 or 3 blocks to a restaurant. So it's not, the weather doesn't have an adverse effect on getting around.
My next question is, what is transportation like when you're going from the airport to the hotel? Are
So
taxis?
yeah, so most people will end up using Uber. There's Uber kiosks at the airport. So you can use the app on your phone. If you don't have the app on your phone, there's basically little kiosks that look like ATM machines that you basically type in your address, you swipe your credit card, and they give you sort of, a little confirmation. You take that out to the next Uber in the terminal. And if you're not comfortable using the kiosks, there's actually 2 Uber help desks. One is in Terminal 1, one is in Terminal 2. Um, and they basically, I think you pay €2 more to use the help desk, which is, $2.50, but they'll basically give you a voucher. You can use your credit card, and there's someone that speaks English that will basically help you at the help desk.
And I'm assuming they take US dollars.
Um, you'll want to use your MasterCard, Visa, or American Express. They'll charge you in the Czech currency, and the credit card company will do the conversion.
Okay.
You will, if you bring US dollars, one of the first things we do is I'll show you where the money changer is. The other option to get currency is using your ATM card. You just need to let your bank know beforehand that you're leaving the country, so they put a travel notification. And with that, you just go to the ATM using your 4-digit PIN to withdraw currency in the Czech koruna. The bead factories that we go to, they will accept US dollars, euros, or Czech koruna. So the factories, because they do business banking, they can accept payment in multiple currencies.
Okay. Now I need to get there on the 10th
You will leave the US on the 10th to arrive the morning of the 11th,
of the
unless you want
11th.
to come. Some people do come a day, 2 or 3 days early. In those instances, obviously there's an additional cost for the hotel, but I do have guides in Prague that can arrange different tours for you. Some people want to go to Tezerin, some people want to go to Český Krumlov or Karlovy Vary. So there are day trips or trips in Prague that can be arranged at an additional cost based on when you want to arrive. And I've used a lot of these guides for the last 15, 20 years. So depending on what you want to do, I would connect you with the right person.
Okay.
Now, John, you also offer a service where people can have you book their airfare for them, right?
Yes. So if you're not comfortable or don't want to, you can pay me $100 and I will search for a couple weeks um, for different flight options for you. Some people want the cheapest flight possible. Other people want the shortest flight time. So, basically after we talk about your level of comfort and what you want out of the ticket, I will find a couple really good options for you based, on what your request is, but also my travel experience. I've flown over 3.5 million miles in the last 40 some odd years. So I've pretty much been in the majority of the airports in Europe and know what connections, time frames for each airport is good, what doesn't work. So I've experienced all the travel delays and missed flights. So that hopefully, whatever I can put together for you, you don't have any of that bad experience.
Now I'm coming from Costa Rica. Does that make any difference?
No, so you would fly from Costa Rica probably either to Miami or Dallas. And then if you're in Dallas, it would probably be Dallas to London, London to Prague. If you're in Miami, it would probably be easier to fly on Iberia to Spain and then Spain to Prague. But I've spent a lot of time down in Costa Rica, so I've made those connections a number of times. Um, but yeah,
For
flying out of
Avita.
Costa Rica should not be an issue.
Okay.
How many people do you expect to be on the trip?
So we're sort of limited by the number of single versus double rooms. We only have 18 rooms at the hotel, of which then 16 rooms are for the guests. So if we end up getting more singles, the group ends up being a little smaller. But the sweet spot typically is 18 to 23 people. We have had instances where there's a lot of doubles and it's gotten up to 28. But my assumption on this tour is we'll probably be at about half singles, half doubles. Um, and then we already have um, one couple where the husband's coming signed up, and in a lot of cases, the husbands end up doing other stuff and don't necessarily partake in the tour group stuff. So if we end up having 3 or 4 husbands joining us, that might actually then put us down to about 14 to 16 people actually going to the factories versus 20 people, because a lot of times the husbands go and do something else.
But the husbands are welcome to come to the bead tours, right?
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, they're more, yes. I mean, some of the husbands actually in past trips have asked way more questions than the actual people interested in beads just because they get into the technical aspects of the machinery. Um, yeah, so they're more than welcome. Every group is slightly different. But I just knowing I know the one husband that's coming, I've known them for a long time. It's a bead store owner. So I know her husband will be probably more interested in beer and just kind of hanging out.
All right. More questions.
I'm thinking of coming a little earlier and staying later, or doing early for 5 days or later for 5 days. I'm not sure, but I'll talk to you privately about that.
Okay, yeah. And 5 days, we could definitely arrange some really good stuff. That's a really great amount of time to come,
Yeah, I
additional
don't want
time.
to go that far and just be there for 7 days.
Yep, yep, I understand that.
All right. More questions. All right. Well, let me pop this Here's the coupon code up on the screen. So it's 100 off RC, so all together. And that takes $100 off your trip when you register by March 1st, so by the end of this month. And let me also show, well, here we go. Let's just take a look at the website. John was talking about the upgrades. So down here is the information about those suite upgrades. And if somebody wants one of those, how do they book that? Do they do that after? Like,
So they can book it during the reservation, or after. If they're having
okay.
issues booking it after, I can add it to their booking, and then we travel basically sends them a bill.
Oh, I see. It's on the next page. So you put it on
Yeah,
the cart here and then continue, put in all your info, and then the next screen will be the add-ons.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
great.
So if they want to add it after the fact, I can go in and manually input it. And the upgrades are per room, not per person. So that I guess the wording confused the one couple that did do the upgrade. So that upgrade, the 229 or
There's one.
279 is per room, not per person.
Okay, that's
So
good
they
to
would,
know.
if they're in a double occupancy, they would just book one of those.
Okay, excellent.
I assume the 250 is not refundable.
Correct.
What was
All
the
right.
time again that we would get started on the 11th?
So our meet and greet in the hotel lobby is 2 o'clock,
2
and
o'clock.
people
Okay.
come basically in between 2:30-ish. It's real informal. We're just sharing names, and then we'll go out the hotel a couple blocks away to point you towards Old Town, towards Wenceslaw Square. I'll show you where the money changer is, where the pharmacy is, all the basic stuff, just to get acclimated.
All right. Any more questions?
Yeah, and I mean, feel free to email me, text me, call me. I've put my cell number in a lot of the emails to you guys. So however you need to get your questions answered from me, just feel free to reach out and I'm more than happy to respond.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Well, I hope that you all will think seriously about joining us and go ahead and use that coupon code so you can sign up right away. And yeah, it's gonna be amazing. I think we're gonna have a great time and we're gonna get to see all these fabulous beads. We're gonna get to do some beading. Um, oh, earlier we were talking about tools before. Um, like I said, when I was going over the projects, you don't necessarily have to bring pliers at all. Um, if you so if you do your wire wrapping beforehand, and I'll do a Zoom class over the summer and I'll record it. So if you can't make it to the live, you can just watch it. But if you do the homework for this, then you don't need to bring pliers with you at all. But if you are going to bring pliers, I would follow John's recommendation. Keep those in your checked luggage. But Kumi Hemo tools, I have not flown. No, I have flown internationally with Kumi Hemo tools in my carry-on. No scissors, but the Kumihimo disc and the bobbins are fine. They will want to take them out and look at it because the weights are going to show up on the X-ray, and they may ask for a demo so you can give a quick Kumihimo lesson to TSA. But I've never had any issues with it. They just think it's funny. And then for the other project, pliers are on the list. It's just to assemble your toggle. So if you just put your toggle attached to your end cap before you leave home, you do not need pliers at all for the bracelet. So you can probably leave your pliers completely at home.
I
Rebecca,
would
this
agree
is
with you on
Rosanna.
the Kumihimo tools and the carry-on. I've had them, I've had them pulled out almost every time I've traveled with them, and they're always like, "What the hell is this?" You know, it's a beading thing. Oh, okay, and then put it back.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah, it always shows up on X-ray, right? There's big weird circles, and they want to see it, but yeah, they've never taken them away. But yeah, I would leave your scissors in your checked luggage just to be safe. That you technically like if it's small enough, but it depends on who's working. So I always check the scissors.
Yep.
Rebecca, this is Roseanne.
Hey, Roseanne.
Are the beads for your kit from the area that we'll be visiting,
I mean, they're from the Czech Republic.
but not from the factories that we're going to?
I have no idea what factories they're from.
Okay. And did you say there was two different colors we could choose from?
Yes,
Okay,
but I
Just
haven't made
wondering.
the second color yet.
that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so this one is with turquoise and copper, and the other one will be something that goes with silver. I already know
Okay.
that, but I haven't picked out the beads yet.
Thanks.
Yeah. All right. Okay, well, are there any more questions? All right, well, if there aren't any more questions, I guess we'll wrap it up. I'll put the replay on our YouTube, and I'll also send it out in an email. I do think it takes a little while for the Zoom to process. I don't think it'll be available right this second. I think it takes a couple hours for it to combobulate in the web, and then I'll get that out to everybody if you want to rewatch it. And of course, share this with anybody who you are thinking about bringing with you, someone who might like to be your roommate, your beading buddy for this grand adventure. All right.
Okay.
Well,
Have a good night, everyone. It was nice to meet everyone.
yeah.
Bye.
Yeah,
Good
same
night.
here. Thank you.
All right.
All
Bye-bye.
right. Bye.